I 4X'd my business, basically went from 5 grand to 20 grand per month within 1 quarter, 3 months, and cut my time working in half.
Let's be perfectly honest. If you're a smart fitness professional, you want to be able to have more leads. Imagine new leads coming in every single day, every single week, hot leads actually begging to work with you. Now, what I'm going to promise, and I know this is the bold promise that both myself and this handsome dude that I'm with you right now, Josh, what we're going to share with you in this episode is a really simple 3-step framework that once you have running is going to make sure that leads are coming into you so that you can be signing them on as your clients, and so you can stop stressing and chasing after new leads. Now, when it comes to getting leads, because Josh, how many times do we hear this from coaches around the world? I want more leads.
Every day,
literally every day. That's why we want to answer this to you right now. Josh, when it came to you wanting more leads and then finally actually being able to crack the code, how did that actually happen?
Yeah, I just remember being really frustrated with the whole process of trying to grow the online because I felt like I was stuck at the starting line. And I knew I wanted to coach a bunch of people, but if I didn't sell a bunch of people, then I didn't get to coach anyone. And I don't have any opportunities for sales if I don't have anyone to talk to. And so I realized marketing was kind of the first step that I needed to take successfully and not take that step and fall over. So ultimately, the first thing that I needed to do was I needed to get clear on who my market was. I needed to get really crystal clear on who I wanted to talk to, because then I could start creating the content that would actually surround that type of person and start attracting them to what it is that I do. So I was, you remember this, I almost hate talking about this because I'm kind of embarrassed to go back to 2016, 2017, Josh. But I would change my market like almost on a 4 to 6. I changed my market when I would change my training program. So like every 6 to 8, I would do like a training block. I would periodize my target market in my business. And no wonder why it didn't work. I didn't know who I was talking to. And then once I started to figure it out, I dialed it in. I stopped being really vanilla, and we threw in a little, my favorite chocolate chip cookie dough that Chris and I have eaten together in person, or a little mint chocolate chip. And I stopped trying to be so general with, well, I help busy people get in shape. And my whole thing with that is, well, everyone claims that they're busy. And if you help the busy professional, if you have a job, then you have some level of professionalism. So everyone's a busy professional, which means that's not going to resonate with anyone. So the first thing I did that actually started to work was I started to dial in who I was talking to.
I love that, dude. This is really good. And if we can even like fast forward a few steps, because obviously you went from, well, look, initially you went from cleaning toilets at a gym, but then running an online business and then needing leads, which is a natural progression. And then actually being able to have leads, but then have those leads turn into clients without you doing more. And I think this is an important part that we need to highlight right now. You as a smart fitness professional, you don't need to be working around the clock, grinding, hustling, because there is a smarter way for you to be able to go about that. So Josh, when it was time for you to actually upgrade your level of thinking and that then upgrading the leads and then sales coming through, how did that actually work?
Yeah, to me, there were 2 parts of that. Number one was the actual content, right? And so now I could make better content because I knew who I was talking to, and therefore the communication that I used in talking about problems and pain points and all of that marketing stuff, it actually started to resonate because I was making content that was bringing through leads. So what was fun about that was I would post the content. What was not fun was actually taking the time to create the content and then go post the content. But what was fun about it was me posting a piece of content and then me going to sleep and waking up and having 2 or 3 sales appointments booked in. I really enjoyed that. So it felt like leads were kind of coming through on autopilot, kind of, sort of, even though I was still manually creating and posting the content. And then number 2 was I actually had a virtual assistant on the back end. So not me, but someone running my social media accounts, actually doing the hot potato conversation back and forth with people in the DMs with the intention and with the system of getting them booked in for a call with me. So I would create the content, I would post it, which was a bit of a hassle, but it worked. And so the content was bringing through leads for me, as well as the virtual assistant. And if you haven't seen the video, we'll link it somewhere across here, but I went from 10 leads per month to 40 leads per month within 90 days while cutting my time working in half. So I'll say it one more time in a different way in case you didn't hear that. I 4X'd my business, basically went from 5 grand to 20 grand per month within 1 quarter, 3 months, and cut my time working in half. So if you've done or would like to do anything similar to that, you might want to stick around for the rest of the video.
Okay, this is brilliant. I love that you dropped that bombshell because it is an important bombshell. And just so for you to know what it is we need to pick up, there's most likely three key problems that you're going to be having. It's, well, okay, Chris and Josh, what do I post so that I'm getting leads? Okay, so you're separating yourself from your market. Two, how do I make my life easy so you're not there, do you mean on your phone? I don't even know where my phone is. I was going to pick up my phone, but I don't even know where it
I
is
got
right
mine.
now. There you go. Good. Is case of the effort that you need to put in to then actually handle your social media platforms. They can be a massive pain in the backside, let's be perfectly honest. And then, do you actually know how to turn a follower into a client? Because if you don't, then all of the effort of creating the content, all the effort of posting the content, all that stuff is a complete waste of time. Because unless you have a system that you can trust, that is, I'm going to put the effort towards my social media and that is going to turn into paying clients, then you have a system to be able to actually build your business. And that's why you're wanting to use social media in the first place. But before we get into that, I think there's three key things we need to talk about, which is one, knowing your market so you can actually talk to them. That's a key check of the box that we need. Second check of the box that we need is going to be a case of, okay, organic content. So I'm putting stuff out organically, free. How does that turn into clients? And then paid, which is ultimately what we should all be working towards. And I know a lot of people are scared about that, but hopefully we'll take away that scariness from you by the end of this episode anyway. So Josh, when it comes to knowing a market, one of the constant hymns that I'm always banging on about is it's not about trying to get doing detailed niche demographics, psychographics, and all this stuff that so many like business coaches go on about. Essentially, all we really need to know is two things, which is one, what are the results that my client wants to achieve, and two, what are they interested in? Because then we can go deeper into that. So how do you help the actual coaches know their market and then quickly get to the I'm posting stuff that is resonating with them?
Yeah, I think a really big concept here that you and I have talked about privately before is the fact that we do want imperfect action over perfect procrastination when it comes to this stuff. I want to give you the bare bones. I want to give you the 1.0 version of what we do. So then we can actually start doing some repetitions, because here's the process. We could spend the next 12 weeks planning and strategizing and putting together flow charts and PowerPoint presentations. But at the end of the day, we need what we call feedback from the marketplace to tweak, adjust, and optimize our message. Because as good as Chris and I think we are, it's not going to be perfect the first time around. We still have to actually go into the real world and do it. But this is a much better start than you banging your head against the wall by yourself. So, key result. Let's start with the end in mind. The key result that you think you produce for your people, your market, your clients.
Yep.
I want you to peel back the onion on this a little bit deeper than you may think. So the result that they want isn't necessarily lose 7 kilos. It isn't necessarily just get in better shape. When I was talking about vanilla ice cream versus mint chocolate chip and cookie dough, that's what I'm talking about. Don't be vanilla with the result that you produce. So what they really want, they want to look, feel, and operate better on a daily basis. They want to be proud of what's reflecting back at them when they look in the mirror. They want to have high energy levels all day long so they can be productive at work and roll around with their kids after they're home from work. They want the real stuff. So when you think about the result, don't just think about the surface level or the external, as great and important and necessary as that is for us to market and sell what we do. Think about what does that actually give them and provide them on a deeper emotional level. So I would start there. Does that make sense?
It makes complete sense, but if I can jump in real quick, because I think this is super important. It's a case of, if you don't know the benefits, especially the emotional benefits as to why someone wants to achieve something, like, dude, I don't know how many times you and I have heard this. Someone, as you brought it up before, I want to train busy professionals. Okay, you're a 21-year-old dude, for example, and you're saying, I want to train this market, or maybe postnatal. Postnatal mums is like a huge market. There's heaps of money. I'm going to jump into that. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But unless you actually know what's going on with that person, I don't believe you can really create content that shows the empathy needed that has to be in marketing for it to be successful. And I think that's a key word. So if you're producing content that does not have empathy, I think you're missing a key part of it.
I'm so glad you brought that up. There's the great saying, if you have pen and paper, you cannot transfer to someone else that in which you're not personally experiencing yourself. And so if you really struggle with this target market stuff, it might be just really simple and easy. And maybe the most productive way to go about this is think about you 5-10 years ago when you started your fitness journey, because then you don't feel like you have to create or build this massive brand or message or marketing strategy. You just get to kind of tell anecdotal story and the evidence that you've come up with along the way. And so it can be a really natural fit for you. So if this stuff is getting way too complex for you and it's freaking you out and you don't know who to pick as your market, maybe just pick you and the story that got you to the point where you're now a fitness coach yourself.
Dude, I absolutely love this. Okay, so we know our market, we've gone into that, we've checked the box, we're showing empathy. Now we need to think about the actual producing of the content, and let's think organic first. So organic could be you're posting on Instagram, you're posting on YouTube, maybe you're doing a podcast, Facebook, even trying to grow a Facebook group, all that stuff, the organic stuff. What do you think's actually working right now, Josh, when it comes to organic?
Yes. And I get this question so often, especially with the calls that I do with coaches around the world. I get this literally on a daily basis. So I basically went through and made a full-on podcast on exactly how to do this. I literally called it, let me know if you want this, coaches that are listening right now, the battle-tested marketing plan in 2021. So it's like, go watch that because I really go deep on it, but I will kind of reiterate what I mentioned in that podcast. What's working really well, in my opinion, and based on the numbers that I see happen from our coaches that work with us, is what we call the 4P framework. So the actual structure of a post is really important. And we're seeing that the structure of the 4P framework is really good. I'll break it down in like the note version of this. So first thing we're going to start out with, the problem. You're calling out the problem in the headline of the post and in the first 5 to 10 seconds of the actual video. Hey, insert target market, are you struggling with ABC? It's a great example. Or, hey, have you ever wondered, or do you wish you had, blah, 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 right? So you're inserting the problem that they have. Then you attach back onto the emotional level here. You catch them with the problem. So you call them out and you say, hey, postpartum moms, are you struggling with blah, blah, blah? Like, oh, I'm a postpartum mom and I'm struggling with ABC. I feel like they're talking to me. So we have to get people's attention. What I know isn't working with coaches when I look at their content, when they say, hey, Josh, can you like do a little social media assessment for me? And I'm like, yeah, fine. Give me your handle. And I look at, they're not calling out their market and they're not specifically talking to anyone. Mm-hmm. And so if we can start with a specific problem, then go to the emotional level and, well, what is the emotional detriment that they're experiencing because of the problem? In other words, pain. Mm-hmm. So you're experiencing ABC and it's making you feel XYZ. Oh, wow. Now we're getting pretty deep. Now we've got people's attention and now we're pulling at their heartstrings a little bit to stay with you for the rest of the post. Because the goal of the post is to basically have them stick with you through the entire post itself. If they keep scrolling, the post didn't do its job. And then we actually go into what we call possibility. So you show them short-term and long-term, both the negative and the positive outcomes that they will experience if they either continue experiencing that problem and pain, or if they get themselves together and take action on what you're trying to help them with and improving how they look, feel, and operate. So you show them kind of the best case and worst case scenario, and it allows them to start to separate these different paths that they could take and make it more black and white versus this gray area, this gray zone of ambiguity that they justify to themselves to not take action. And then you show them what I would call the cost of inaction of like, hey, in 30 years from now, you really don't want to be in the same position because it's going to cost you a lot of money in medical bills. You're not going to be proud of what's reflecting back at you. Your spouse may or may not still be attracted to you. You won't be proud of yourself. You're not going to be as productive. And you show them that stuff and you do it in a way that does show, like you said, empathy. And then you go into the path, which is the call to action. And if you enjoyed today, or if you want to learn more about XYZ topic that I just talked about for 5 minutes, click on the link down below, book in for what I call a game plan session with me. At the very least, you walk away with great strategies that you can be successful with on your own. At the very most, you and I lock arms together to help you achieve those results. Throw my link down below, book in for a call with me. There's your Calendly link or whatever. But we see that flow, that simple framework of call out market, talk about problem, talk about pain, show them the cost of action and cost of inaction, and then basically finish off with, hey, what's the best next step? But I think the key that's really working is you're telling people where to go. Yeah. What's working really well, I just think in general is, hey, tell people what's up and tell them specifically where you want them to go. The general ambiguity thing in marketing doesn't work. But if you can say, Chris, what's up? I know you're watching, blah, 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 go here. That's working.
You know, it's like super funny when you break this down. It's a really case of like there's 3 basic steps. One, you're calling out, hey, you've got this problem. Secondly, you say, hey, this is what I've got. And thirdly, you're saying, hey, this is where to get it. It's that simple at the end of the day, which is brilliant. So once we take this, because this is really important, and for everyone that I kind of previously alluded to, is like, if you're scared about running ads, because like, oh, I don't have heaps of cash. Well, no, you don't want to burn cash. You don't want to pee it against the wall. We need to know, and this is what we do with all of our clients first, we need to know that what they're doing organically is working first, so that paid is simply just fueling the fire and growing the business even faster. So once that's working, now we can start to talk paid. Even I'm looking at my whiteboard across my monitor right now. So I'll literally walk you through the exact ad funnel that we're using right now. It's an ad. It goes to a lead form. That lead form, once they go through, will collect their email and their phone number so that you can follow up with that lead. But the next page they go to is what we call a call and group page, which is going to be a thank you that warms them up, to get them to book in a call with you, and then also can take them into a group to build them in a Facebook group, so that you're then following up with your leads in a Facebook group with email and with a phone number that you can SMS and call them as well. But then also you've pixeled them on a page so that you can send retargeting ads going back to them as well. So 4 very, very, very potent ways for you to follow up with your leads to be able to take them through. Then obviously after that call and group page, you then are giving them what it is that they opted in for. Maybe it was like a free ebook, a recipe, a training, a guide, a challenge, or whatever it is that you're really giving them. And then you're still having that building the relationship while giving them more value, but you're consistently giving them the option to take the fast track that's booking in a call with you to take the next step. And to be completely transparent and honest, that's what we're doing right here. Because if you wanted to be able to take the next step, if you're like, hey, yeah, I really want a trained virtual assistant to be able to take over my social media right now to get me more leads. Well, great. You've got to talk to this guy, Josh, right now to be able to make that happen. If you want to know exactly how to grow your fitness business, whether online, face-to-face, great. You've got to talk to Josh. The next step's really clear. There's one next step, and that is you've got to book in a call that we call a game plan session, so that we can set a game plan for you, so that we can say, yes, we can actually help you. We can answer all of your questions, and you are 100% confident to take the next step. Worst case scenario, you take the plan Josh gives with you and you run with it yourself and you go for it. So I think that's really important, because it's simply walking the lead and your leads through that case of, this is what I need to be able to do. So one, I've just given you the exact funnel that we know tons of coaches are using right now to get leads every single day. However, there is 3 key problems that we need to make sure are not a problem for this to work for you. One is the content that you're actually posting, correct, the what to post. Okay, that's really, really important. And Josh is going to dive into that in just a second. Secondly, the effort to be posting everything, because you've got to be constantly testing stuff and putting that out. And then thirdly, the actual process of turning a follower to a client, especially through the DMs, and making sure that you're building, like, let's be perfectly honest. Do you know what I mean? Like, Josh and I just might be some weird looking dudes on the internet. And you're like, oh, I'm a bit skeptical. I'm not too sure. That's perfectly fine. That's why you most likely would want some communication back and forth first before ever buying something. And it's exactly what's happening with you and your client. So Josh, let's go into the actual follower to client system right now. I'm going to pull up in front of me one of the template scripts that I'm more than happy to share in this episode now, but I want you to kind of like dive through, what does the actual process look like, and what does the virtual assistant need? Okay, the coach can do it, but let's be perfectly honest, it's far superior to get a virtual assistant to do it, just like what you said, because they quadrupled your business in 1 quarter.
Well, yeah, it's also just, zoom out for a second here. It's also just the big picture concept of the trained appointment setter is going to be better at the skill set of appointment setting than the coach that probably hasn't set many appointments in their career. So it's like, no matter how much you try to train or try to acquire the skill set yourself, the trained appointment setter that's probably been doing it for years is so far ahead of you, you're never going to catch up to them. And just the fact that you probably don't want to spend 20 hours per week doing assistant work when you should really be selling your coaching program and coaching your clients. That's kind of one thing. But anyways, the process here is really simple. I like the concept of marketing in public and selling in private. Mm-hmm. So let's just for 1 second here talk about what's not working. in a social media post saying, hey, I've got my program. It's $900. It's really awesome. And you're going to look awesome. And you should buy my program right now. And we're both laughing because we both see it. And then these coaches are confused as to why it doesn't work. It obviously doesn't work. So market in public, meaning you go through something like the 4P framework, tell everyone what it is about that you do. But then in private, which is the private DMs that Chris and I are talking about right now, this is where we actually start the sales process and try and get people booked in for a call. So very simple. The way a lot of those DM conversations work is something that comes out, message number one, like a spark message. Our goal of the spark message is to get that person to reply to us. We're just looking for them to engage because we want to open the door for a conversation. Most coaches don't even try to open the door in the conversation because they're not doing any DM stuff. And if they do, they're not doing it in the right way. They're using the wrong key to unlock the door and they're wondering why the door doesn't open. So beginning of the message, spark message, get them to reply. Then you can ask a couple questions about their goals, about what they're struggling with, about what they might need some help with, or even questions like, hey, what kind of content do you want to see from me? I'll make a free guide if your question is worthy of me making a training on. And you go back and forth. I call that the hot potato conversation. So you get them to engage. You go back and forth a couple of times so you have some clarity on what it is that they actually want and need. And you also are understanding that you're kind of qualifying them. Like, hey, is this someone that I would even want to entertain possibly working with? You're also doing that for you as the coach and entrepreneur in that situation. And then eventually you go through and with that call to action of, hey, let's jump on a quick chat here. And as long as you can explain to them the value of the call, it's really simple. Start the conversation with a spark, have that meat and potatoes of the back and forth for a little bit. And then you have that call to action to book in for a call. That's working like crazy. And that was the exact same framework that took me from 10 leads to 40 leads per month within 90 days.
Dude, it's so simple when you break this down because the spark message could simply be something like, hey, are you currently following a diet or training plan right now? And then it's like, yeah, I am. Second message can be something along the lines of, is it cool if I ask a couple of quick questions to see if I can help? Cool. If someone says no to that, well, there's two things. Either they're not a lead, do you know what I mean? Like that's not someone you should pursue. Or two, they haven't consumed enough of your content to be warm enough for the conversation, which is fine because then you continue to produce the great content to then be able to have those conversations. Then you ask a couple of questions. What is it that you want to achieve? How important is this to you? Why do you think you haven't achieved that yet? Once you get those three questions out of the way, you know, is this someone that I can actually help? Do I actually want to help with this person? Is this person actually engaged looking for help in the first place? And then if that's the case, great. Then you can take them through some really simple messaging to get them booked onto a call, or you can even directly sell your program directly from chat as well. Either or, but different models we're not going to jump into in this episode because that's going to be completely its own episode as well. Okay. Dude, this has been amazing what we've gone through right now. And I feel like we've put a lot down, plenty of actionable stuff. If there was one thing, Josh, that you think is really important for the coach right now to execute, to follow, to make this work, what do you think that is?
Honest answer, because Chris and I are honest guys. You need to click on the link that we're going to put somewhere near here. And you're going to select a date and time that you are available to talk with me. It's a very simple solution here, Chris. Start having conversations with and get exposure to the people that you want to be like. It is not about how great Chris and I am, but what I am is a guy that went from cleaning toilets to have coached 15,200 people worldwide. And I would not have coached that many people and had the impact, income, and freedom that I've created if I did not have these systems organically with content, as well as having the virtual assistant on the back end. So here's what's going to happen. After you book in for your call, you and I are going to chat between 10 and 15 minutes. I'm not going to sell you on the call. I have a two-step sales call process anyways. So I'm not selling you on the first call. But what we are going to have is we're going to have a back and forth conversation about peeling back the onion on your business. And we're going to find out what your problems are and what your pain points are and where it is that you want to go and why you're not already there. And then if we feel like this would be a good fit, then we can go to a second call. But honestly, best next step, I know what happened for myself and my business when I booked in for my strategy session in 2017. And that's when that transition of cleaning toilets to moving to Bali happened. So I strongly suggest you do the same.
Dude, I agree. I think it's super simple. There is no risk. There is only cool things to gain. And then, do you know what I mean? I think these conversations are really, really valuable because, as I said, worst case scenario, you take the plan and take the advice that Josh has given you and you run with it. Like, that's called free coaching. Now, however, don't book in just for free coaching because that's a real douchebag move. But I think there's plenty of good stuff on the other end of it as well. Now, so really, there are 2 steps. 1, book in the call. Somewhere there will be a link for you. 2, if you're like, not too sure, dudes, I'm a little bit skeptical. Perfectly fine. We've got more episodes coming for you. So make sure you consume that, use it, abuse it, and put it to the test to see for yourself. Mr. Vago, thank you so much for jamming with me today. And we're looking forward to seeing you in the next episode.